Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in today. It's the Luke Boyd Show. I'm your host, Luke Boyd, here as we are heading into the holiday month. I just wanted to say I really appreciate every single one of you guys. Um, yeah, there's not really much to it to start out. Yeah, I Yeah, I've I know I'm a little bit later than usual today. I'm about like 5, 6, 7 minutes later than I probably should be. But again, I appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. Um, Sorry about being a little bit later. Just trying to make sure that everything is up and running smoothly. Unfortunately, I'm not live on Twitch or Kick at the moment, but hopefully I can get some of the kinks figured out soon because um, yeah, it's not really being multicasted everywhere if I'm not being multicasted everywhere. But yeah, we're live on Instagram now too, so that's a positive. Um, but yeah, anyhow, really appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. But before we get into all the details of kind of what we learned from the NFL over the past couple of weeks and um, just everything that we've been kind of learning over the past couple of weeks from the NBA as well, let's just start out in a prayer, shall we? We'll get right into it. In the name of the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, I want to thank you once again for another wonderful day. I want to thank you for each and every single person that has taken the time out of their day to watch this or listen to it or wherever they may be. I'd like to ask that you help to bless and guide each and every single one of them go throughout their day and go throughout this week and continue to be a blessing to many and a hero to some. Um, Guide their thoughts, guide their actions, guide their interactions with every single person that they meet. Um, as we pray, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Alrighty. Well, I do appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. And with that, let me just kind of roll right into what we're doing here. Let me just kind of switch up the scenery real quick. Um, yeah, kind of a wild Thanksgiving weekend from the NFL. We got a couple of games that I'm going to kind of try to gloss over real quick. Thanksgiving Day, we had a couple of really strong performances from the Packers and the Lions, but also the Chiefs and the Cowboys was probably the biggest news of the day in terms of the Cowboys ended up beating the Kansas City Chiefs by 3 points. And then the Bengals ended up beating the Ravens that I was totally not expecting, but it looks like even with that in the rearview mirror for the Ravens, they're still in prime position, to potentially end up winning, or prime position to still end up being atop of the division, even though they lost to the Bengals. They're still right there neck and neck. Let me just look at the standings real quick before I shoot myself in the foot and say the wrong thing. But yeah, they're right in prime position. They just need to kind of put it together these next couple of weeks because this entire season has been kind of up and down for them the entire season. So look to the Ravens to just kind of keep a close eye watch on that divisional prize right there. But yeah, the Cowboys being the Chiefs, I feel like there's probably going to be a lot of overreactions coming out of this weekend. Like the Cowboys are actually going to make playoffs, or the Cowboys are in prime position to not only make the Super Bowl but win the Super Bowl. There can be a whole lot of hullabaloo and major overreactions coming out of there, but I don't I don't think there's any big news per se. I mean, yes, it's crazy that the Cowboys ended up beating the Chiefs, but I kind of think it's out of a whim. I don't. I mean, because I mean Jamal, or is it Jamal Williams? Is that Jamal Williams? Javonte Williams, excuse me. Um, I mean, Dak Prescott has been playing good like he's been all season, so there's no knock on Dak here at all. It's just the fact, for me personally, I think it's just the fact that the way that the Cowboys have been playing all season, more so on the road than at home. Because I mean, if you look at their home record, they're 4-1-1, but I just don't see, and maybe we can take a look at their schedule too for the remainder of the season, but I just don't really see them going any further. Even if they do make a wild card spot, I don't see them going any further than maybe a wild card exit, if that makes sense. Like, this is not, it doesn't really look good. I mean, because they do have the Lions, they do have the Vikings, which are still interconference, but they're not interdivisions, so they're still key matchups in my personal opinion. Then they got the Chargers, and then they got the Commanders and the Giants. So they could end the season on a 3-game winning streak and potentially put themselves in a position to make a wild card spot. They're probably going to be like that very last wild card spot if that's the case. But I mean, first and foremost, they got to beat the Lions and the Vikings. And I mean, not to say that they can't beat the Vikings, but they at least got to beat the Lions and the Chargers and the Commanders, I think. Cuz them playing against the Giants at the very end of the season, that's kind of like a wash, but they need to make sure that they win that game, and I'm sure that they definitely will. Um, and then also Vikings are just kind of in shambles right now. I know that I was kind of seeing couple different things of JJ McCarthy coming back from, I think it was like concussion protocol or something like that. He'll be coming back next Sunday, or next week, excuse me. I want to say it's next Sunday, but I could be wrong. But anyhow, um, but I'm circling the next couple of weeks for the Cowboys, because who really knows what's going to happen with the Cowboys from here on out? Because I mean, yes, they're in or prime position, if you will, but it it's really hard to say just because of how inconsistent that they've been all season as to how well their rest of the season is going to go. Um, but I mean, they were able to win against the Chiefs, so I mean, I'll give them props there, but outside of that, I don't know. I don't know for sure about what's going to happen there, so we'll see. Um, Bears playing against the Eagles on Friday. That was a pretty solid matchup for the Bears, and they ended up finding the win 24-15 in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts still played pretty well. Um, I kind of was expecting the Eagles to take the win against the Bears at home, but for them to fall short like that, that's kind of a crazy, um, it's kind of a crazy win for them, um, which is insane. Um, but anyhow, I'm just kind of double checking a couple different things real quick, ladies and gentlemen. So don't mind me. Um, but anyhow, do we have this off? That way I don't have random phone calls coming in. Okay. All right. So, and then getting into yesterday, um, scores that I'm not entirely surprised with. You got the 49ers beating the Browns by a walloping margin, 26-8, the final score in Cleveland. You got the Jaguars beating the Titans in Tennessee. No surprise there. Um, Trevor Lawrence finally had another good game. Um, Texans ended up being the Colts. That's kind of a surprise score. Thought the Colts were going to handle their business at home against the Texans, but um, Texans defense comes up big in Indianapolis once again. Um, Dolphins end up handling their business at home against the Saints, even though it was kind of a closer margin than probably a lot of people would have expected, or maybe they did expect it just because of how bad the Dolphins have been playing to this point of the season, but we'll see. Um, Jets ended up being the Falcons. That's kind of a surprise, especially since the Jets have lost a lot of their high caliber defensive players in the trade deadline. So, um, kind of a big win for them to get their third win of the season right there. Cardinals lose by 3 to the Bucks in Tampa Bay, so that's a kind of a kind of a needed win for the Bucks. But I mean, for it to be that close, that's kind of like how good are really the Buccaneers at this point, especially since they lost to a really hard nosed, but not very high winning Arizona Cardinals team. Um, but they also have a really tough division as well in the Arizona Cardinals do, because they also got the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers in that division that are all at basically like 9 wins right now. So all those teams are pretty much on fire outside of the Cardinals. So kind of crazy. Panthers ended up being the Rams, which is really a surprise score there. 3 points separating both those teams, 31-28, the final score in Carolina. Um, yeah, Um, I just don't really know what else to say. I mean, Matt Stafford played pretty well, but um, not enough to get them the win in Carolina. And then this one, I've heard a couple different news stories about it, um, but it sounds like the Seattle Seahawks beating the Vikings is the first time that the Vikings have been shut out since 2007. I want to make if you guys want to fact check me on that and make sure that that's correct. I just wanted to just kind of throw that out there. Pretty sure. Um, yeah, pretty sure that that's correct, especially since I saw that on a social of some sort. But yeah, those are offline, so we can just kind of kick those out for now. But anyhow, 26-0 is the final score in Seattle. Sam Darnold playing pretty well once again, but the defense showing up big for Seattle at home. Against the Vikings, moving up to 9-3. And then another score, Bills beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh 26-7. We'll talk a little bit more about this one as we dive a little bit deeper into what we learned over the past couple of weeks from the NFL as a whole. Chargers winning at home against the Raiders 31-14, the final score in Los Angeles. And the Broncos winning in overtime against the Commanders by 1 point, 27-26 the final in DC. Yeah, not really much else going on there. Other than it's kind of an interesting matchup that went into overtime. I wasn't entirely expecting that one to go into overtime, but especially with what the type of season that the Commanders have had with all their injuries and stuff like that, for them to even have this one go into overtime, I think that's got to be a win for the Commanders there. Is because offense and defense had fought all the way through, so not really anything crazy to speak of there. But anyhow, um, yeah, so that's kind of the scores breakdown coming out of the weekend of Week 13. Coming into tonight, you got the Giants against the Patriots. This one's going to be, in my personal opinion, this could be a snooze fest because the Giants are out and they really have nothing to play for. So, I mean, if it is anything close, it's because the Patriots aren't playing very well and Drake May's having a bad game. That's really the only reason why I would see this game being close at all. Um, but with that, um, yeah, with that, I don't really know what else to really discuss there about tonight's game from both of those teams. So we're just going to get right into some of the stuff that we learned from the weekend. Five teams are eliminated from contention. Arizona Cardinals, New Orleans Saints, New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders, and Tennessee Titans. We had four teams just over the past weekend just get eliminated because I believe it was the New York Giants that came into this weekend already eliminated from playoff contention. Um, and I think because of that, and because these five, well, of these five teams that are already eliminated, I think the favorite to get that number one pick in the 2026 NFL draft, I think, is going to be the Tennessee Titans, just because, uh, not only because of record, but I think if we look at the remaining schedule, it's just going to be tough for me to really see any wins. Um, because I don't think they're going to be beating the 49ers or the Chiefs. They might have a chance against the Saints and they might have a chance against the Browns, but um, and a possibility against the Jags. But I just, with the way that they've been playing all season, being 1-11, and also Jacksonville being atop of their division, and that being the last division game that they have is the last game of the season, I just don't see Tennessee really making any big strides in the future games coming down the rest of the way for them to really be like, yeah, we're gonna try to find a way to win. I mean, I'd be willing to bet you they're still gonna try to play their starters and make sure that they get reps and stuff like that. But outside of outside of any more wins in this season, they maybe get one or two against the Browns or the Saints, maybe. But like outside of that, they're definitely getting three more. Yeah, so even two more, they may end up going 3-14 or something like that. And then you kind of take a look at the rest of the other team schedules that may be even closer than the Titans here. You got the Raiders, who got the Broncos, and then the Eagles, and then the Texans, and then the Giants, and then the Chiefs. So, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, as of right now, I'm seeing basically maybe one win against the Giants for the Raiders. Um, but I don't see too many other wins coming out of Las Vegas as well, um, unless somehow they find a way against maybe the Texans or the Chiefs even. But I don't really see that happening. Um, I mean, because they also got Denver this weekend too, so with it being an interdivision matchup, it might be close. But I wouldn't put your hopes up, Raiders. But um, anyhow, um, yeah, as of right now, there's not. Yeah, they also might end up being 3 and what is it, 3-14. But anyhow, as of right now, I'm still thinking Titans are the favorite right now. Yeah, because you take a look, you probably got a win there, uh, or maybe not against the Jets. I don't know. I don't know. That one's gonna be a classic like meme of Eric Cartman. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, um, Let's see. Bucks against the Panthers. I don't think there's really any much of a shot there. I mean, they're probably going to at least compete because it's interdivision, and they at least have 3 out of their next 5 matchups going to be interdivision matchups. So, I mean, there's definitely a chance for a couple of wins to pop into the books for the Saints there. So, yeah, I would just say that as of right now, they're probably going to come out with maybe 1 or 2. I'll give them maybe like 3 more wins. Yeah, I'd give them like 3 more wins here. Um, Give them a 5-12, 5-12 end of season record. Not great, but also not the end of the universe for them either. I wouldn't think. But anyhow, um, yeah. Outside of that, not really much to really speak of there. Um, Obviously, the Giants have the Patriots tonight. I don't really think that. Um, I think. I think at this point of the season, for the Giants, you probably have another win against the Raiders. Maybe. Um, but obviously a tough stretch for um, which is also kind of crazy because the last game of the season is also a division matchup as well, which that's insane. I have a feeling there's going to be a whole lot of divisional matchups that last game of the season. I wonder if maybe next year they might end up switching it up and end up doing like the last 2 games of the season just be interdivision matchups. That way they try to avoid any guys resting too soon or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, they're probably not going to win against the Patriots. They do have a decent matchup against the Commanders there too. I just realized that the Commanders are also in the same division as the Giants here. My bad. But anyhow, you got You know what I didn't double check? I didn't double check if my microphone was on the right setting. These real quick. Properties. Oh, okay, good. All right. I don't know. What else do I need to say, ladies and gentlemen? Um, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I mean, as of right now, I still think the Titans are the favorite to kind of get that number 1 pick here, just because of where they're sitting in record, where all the other teams that are kind of close to them are looking at schedule wise. If I were to take a bet as to who would be right behind them, it would probably either be the Raiders or the Giants. Um, but in terms of how tough the Saints schedules is to go down the stretch, the Saints might end up, bumping down in or bumping down in terms of record, but bumping up in terms of where they'll be spotted at in terms of where they'll be at pick wise for the first round. Because I think very easily it's probably going to be the Titans and the Raiders that are probably going to be 1 and 2 there. Maybe you see the Saints pop up to number 2, but we'll see. But as of right now, if we're just looking at the eliminated teams, there's a potential that all 5 of these teams that are eliminated right now could be the top 5 picks in next year's draft. So we'll see how that goes. but as of right now, it's not looking too good for any of these teams that are already eliminated, other than the fact that they're going to be top picks in next year's draft, which um, I don't know. There's also the fact that the Raiders are on a 6 game losing streak, Titans are on a 7 game losing streak, and I mean the Giants are kind of right up there with the Raiders in terms of the losing streak, but um, we'll see what happens tonight. If the Giants somehow come up with a victory tonight, I would be absolutely shocked. Um, but anyhow, what else have we learned over the weekend? Um, Pittsburgh Steelers once again are one of those teams that are going to be probably just good enough to be over 500, and even if they were to make um, if we go back to divisions real quick, even if they were to be good enough to make a playoff spot, I don't think that they're going to go any further than a wild card appearance. Um, they might end up getting a win on the road, but with the way that the Steelers have been playing as of late, that's kind of a hard sell. So I don't really know. I don't know how well people think that that is actually going to turn out for the Steelers, but I mean, it's quite possible, especially looking at the rest of the schedule for the season for the Steelers. I mean, you got the Ravens coming up next week. You got then the Dolphins and the Lions and the Browns, and then the Ravens once again to finish out. So I mean, at least the Steelers end up having 2 divisional games to close out the season. But I mean, I would say it's not an easy win against the Lions, not an easy win against the Browns, but they do also have the Ravens twice, so we'll see what happens there. But as of right now, one team that I think is probably going to be a guaranteed wash of a win for them is going to be against the Dolphins, as long as they can handle their business at home. Outside of that, I don't really know 100% what's going to go on. Obviously, a headline from this is that the from about 6 hours ago, Stephen A. saying on First Take that Mike Tomlin's time with the Steelers is over. Which, if that is the case, um, the Steelers are going to be moving into a different era entirely. Because no knock on Mike Tomlin, but he has been one of those coaches that outside of a couple of us, outside of a couple of Super Bowl appearances, and I think even a couple of Super Bowl victories, I would say, um, is Mike Tomlin has been known to be very, very consistent in the regular season as a whole in terms of being over five, not only over 500, but finding ways to make playoffs for the Steelers. Um, I think he has yet. There was something that I was seeing. I want to say. I want to say it had something to do with most consistent, like winning seasons or something like that, or most consecutive winning seasons or something like that. Um, because I know there have been a couple of different times where he might have had winning seasons, but didn't end up making the playoffs because of like the way that the playoff um, formula kind of works. So, um, who knows exactly what's going to be happening with the Steelers moving forward? I don't know, and I don't really think that there's a lot of speculation as to who's on the hot seat. NFL coaching hot seat. Um, is it SI? Where's that Fox Sports? There it is. Oh, they didn't update it since like a few weeks ago. Oh, they did have Mike Tomlin at number 7. That's interesting. I didn't even realize that. Huh. Well, it looks like this one hasn't really been all that fluid from them at all. Interesting. I still have that open. I don't need that open anymore. But yeah, I think if in any event, I still think that there's going to be a chance that the Pittsburgh Steelers are still going to find a way to end up having a winning record and whatnot, but it's quite possible that this might be the first season that the Steelers end up having their first losing record going into the off season. But I could be completely wrong about all of that. It's just a matter of how well the Steelers can play the rest of the way versus their opponents, because I mean, as of right now, who knows? What else did we learn? I think the other thing that we learned over the weekend is I think there's going to be a lot of diehard Cowboy fans that are going to be completely overreacting in terms of the fact that they were able to find a win against the defending, or, well, I would say not defending champs, I would say more powerhouse formula team in the Kansas City Chiefs. But, I mean, as of right now, they've just been mediocre. And what I mean by that is I think that a lot of teams, especially in the regular season, have figured out what the Chiefs are going to do. Either that or Patrick Mahomes has been getting paid way too much to where the Chiefs have not been able to figure out a way to get a good offensive line to where Patrick Mahomes can still do what he needs to do. Could be completely wrong. Patrick Mahomes could, I mean, he's, before I get into any trouble with saying the wrong thing, let me look at some stats real quick. I mean, cool. Congratulations. He's second in passing yards, but what is his QBR? What is his completion percentage? I mean, he's also been sacked 27 times, so that's a pretty big number to this point. Pretty sure. And then, what is this? I mean, not as much as Cam Ward, obviously, but he's still top 10 in how many times he's been sacked. So, kind of hard to really say. I mean, his completion percentage is top 20 in the league. QBR rating is number 2. I don't really know how, but okay. And we already kind of looked at completion percentage. We already really looked at sacks. So, I mean, you kind of looked at touchdown to interception ratio here. I mean, he's top 4 there. But, I mean, even still, I'm not going to say that the Chiefs' losses are solely on Patrick Mahomes. That's kind of what I'm gathering off of this. It's not to say that they can't win without Patrick Mahomes, because they've been able to basically win some of their games with Patrick Mahomes still playing well. I don't really know how many games they've had without him this season off the top of my head, but this could also be the first season where we don't see the Kansas City Chiefs actually making the playoffs. I know I had a couple of I know I think I had originally predicted that the Chiefs were going to handle their business on the road in Dallas, but seems like Dallas was able to prove me wrong in terms of the fact that they were able to find a way to beat the Chiefs by 3 points. I mean, it's obviously only the regular season still, um, but even as of right now, still, I still think there's quite a possibility, unless they fall short of like the next couple of games, um, that the Chiefs could still make the playoffs here. Which, if they do end up making the playoffs, that's going to be kind of um, a crazy development, just because um, it's. I mean, if the Chiefs end up making the playoffs here, I would say right now they're definitely going past a wild card, and I mean they could potentially go all the way. They may not win a Super Bowl this year with the way that they've been playing, but I mean, because I feel like even if they were to make it to the Super Bowl, their flaws will completely get exposed. Especially if the AFC Championship game happens to end up being the Chiefs against the Bills, because for what we've seen in years past, the Bills are solely relying on Josh Allen to completely do the workload for Buffalo. Um, but also, just Josh Allen has yet to find a way outside of the regular season to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, we've seen these matchups consistently, time and time again, throughout these past, how many seasons? 3, 4, 5 seasons, even, where Buffalo will play well against the Chiefs in the regular season. They'll play well against them in the postseason, but they won't find a way to win. It's hard to really say what is going to actually happen in the postseason, and obviously these next few weeks are kind of going to be what remains to be seen. But as of right now, I'm still not counting out the Chiefs in the fact that they could still make playoffs here. Um, but that's all really going to be dependent on how well the rest of the top of their division is going to play, the rest of the conference in general, they will play the rest of the season. Um, and I guess what we also kind of learned over the weekend is I was kind of talking a little too high about Daniel Jones. Um, Indianapolis has just not been playing well these past couple of weeks, and um, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I figured with the moves that they made at the trade deadline, I still think that they were going to be completely hot to, kind of go throughout the rest of the season, but they are 2-3 in their last 5 games. And the recent losses were to the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Steelers. Two kind of very mid teams, and the team that has been kind of. I mean, they're playing over 500, but um, still kind of a rough stretch for the Colts, more or less offensively than defensively, I think, because I mean they only scored 16 points this last week against the Texans. They only scored 20 points a week before. Um, so it's a tough sell for the Colts right now, but um, I mean, as of right now, it looks like they've also fallen out of the top spot for some reason. But they do face the Jags this upcoming weekend, so another big test for them. Do they really have Sauce Gardner? Not considering placing Gardner. Oh, it's a calf injury. Had they originally thought that it was an Achilles? Is that why? Is that why they're saying Achilles okay? I didn't really see the play, so if you guys could help me out, that'd be awesome. But anyhow, um, yeah, very interesting. Okay, um, what else do I have for you guys? Because they still got the Jags twice. They still got the Texans one more time. And I mean, at least they still have two division rivals to finish out the rest of the season. So, gonna be a tough stretch for the Colts here. They also have a really good test against Seattle in Seattle after they face the Jags. So, it's gonna be a tough stretch for Indianapolis the rest of the way. I think I was kind of. I think I was kind of a little too high um, on Daniel Jones, and when I was talking about how well he's been playing to this point. I mean, again, I could be wrong. We'll kind of take a look at some of the. Let's see. We'll take a look at the MVP race a little bit more deeply tomorrow. But we'll kind of see what has been updated here. Oh, really? Even though they lost to the... What? They just lost to the Panthers. What? You're telling me Matt Stafford is still the favorite after losing to the Panthers? What the heck? I don't even think Josh Allen should be in this conversation. I mean, I could understand Drake May, maybe, and maybe Dak Prescott. But I mean, I wouldn't put him up there just because of the way that his whole team has been playing to this point of the season. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're basing all of this off of. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of wild. That's kind of wild to me. That is a. Oh man, I don't know. Such a weird, such a weird odds generator. But I'll kind of digress a little bit, just because we'll get a little bit more into depth in that later this week. Um, and I'll kind of do a little bit more research as to why I will have certain people at the top of my MVP list. Um, but anyhow, what else did we kind of learn over the weekend? I think over the weekend, um, if anything, coming out of this weekend, there's potential for two, maybe three more teams in the NFC to be seeing that eliminated marker coming out of week 14. Um, I would say facing that eliminated marker is definitely going to be the Commanders. Um, but also the Vikings and the Falcons are also in that category. I wouldn't say not as much, just because I think the Falcons are a little bit closer to their opponent behind them um, than the Commanders are. Um, I mean, well, there's still three. behind. But yeah, I don't know. I think at least the Vikings and the Falcons, they're not like right there, but I mean, I would say definitely Commanders are right there just because of the fact that I mean, they're only at 3 wins. So, I mean, who knows? They also do have the Vikings coming up. Then they got the Giants and the Eagles, and then Cowboys, and then Eagles again. So the Commanders have a really rough last 4 weeks. And I feel like if they lose even like the next one or two, maybe even the next one, they could get that eliminated marker even before getting into that stretch of um, interdivision matchups, if you will, between the rest of their crew coming into the later portions of the season. Um, which, yeah, I think that was one of the main reasons why I had originally thought of the Commanders as being like, yeah, they're definitely facing that E um, coming into this weekend, just because of the fact that yeah, I mean, and maybe not just because they have the rest of the division that they had to face over the next 4 weeks, but or over the next 4 weeks after the Vikings, but it would be very, very tough for the Commanders to make a playoff spot, um, outside of a loss to the Vikings come this weekend if that ends up being the case. So, um, wins obviously going to help them, but I think it'd be very, very tough or tougher for them to make a playoff spot if they end up losing to the Vikings this upcoming weekend, which I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah, it'd be a very, very tough situation for the Commanders for sure. What else? I think looking into the rest of the league here in terms of who else could also be facing that eliminated mark coming out of week 14. Um, I would say probably the Browns are going to be one of those teams that are probably going to be facing that. Same with the Jets, but probably more so the Jets than the Browns. Just because with the way that the division has been playing in the AFC North, um, it would be. I think it's a much tougher road ahead for the Jets than it is for the Browns. And I think especially against who they're playing over the course of next week, because they got the Dolphins, Jags, Saints, Patriots, and Bills. Um, Not to say that they can't win, it's just going to be a tough sell for them not to end up getting that E coming out of this weekend if they don't win against the Dolphins. So there's that. I think we'll get a little bit more into top five and bottom five tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Wednesday. Um, but in terms of what else that we're kind of, bringing to the table here, just I think the Jets and the Browns are kind of right at the cusp of almost getting that eliminated mark just because, I mean, I feel like at this point there should already be E's on some of these, but because of the way that the other teams across their division have been playing, there's not that. And with how many games there are left in the season, you can't really count them out until it's officially like, okay, even if they were to win these games, would they still be at a chance to, make the playoffs? Even though, from what it's been looking like throughout the whole season, there's that. What are you talking about? Of course, they're not going to be making the playoffs. They're 3-9, and they have just. I mean, even though they just won against. We literally just talked about this. Even though they just won against the Falcons by 3, like there's still that chance, you know what I'm saying? Or, even for the Browns, obviously the Browns have a little bit more of a chance just because the rest of their division as a whole hasn't gotten any more than 6 wins over the course of the entire season. So we'll see. I mean, there's still like 4 or 5 games left for majority of the league coming out of this weekend outside of tonight for the Patriots and the Giants. So who knows? But it's gonna be a tough road for both these teams if they want to stay away from that eliminated mark. So we'll see what happens. But what else did we learn over the weekend? Philly is probably, even if they do make, I think we also learned over the weekend that even if Philly does make playoffs, which is looking like it's going to be the case just because of how good their talent spreads across the board, I don't know that they are going to repeat. It's going to be hard. I mean, not that it isn't hard enough already for a team to repeat, but with the way that they've been playing over the past couple of weeks, it's a hard sell that Philadelphia is going to be repeating as champions again. There's a lot of, I'm not going to say drama per se, but there's definitely a lot of inner office discord from what I've been seeing from different things online. Just because AJ Brown, their top star receiver, is not very happy with the situation in Philly. There was a potential I'm not gonna say misjudgment, but miscue in who they picked as their OC. So give or take, this could end up being, one of those seasons where Philly still ends up making the playoffs, but and it's snowing outside. It's glorious. I'm gonna have to do something. Let's see. It looks so beautiful. Anyhow, sorry, I got a little bit distracted. What else? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think that is gonna do it for right now. I mean, at least Seattle's beating bad teams, I guess, is the best way that I can put that. I don't know. Anyhow, we're going to move on just because I know we're going to discuss a little bit more about a lot of this stuff tomorrow. But getting into the NBA, where did I see this? Was it NBA? Ooh, can I see the bracket? I know I saw that the bracket is set. Where is it? By the bracket, ladies and gentlemen, I mean the in-season tournament bracket is set. I think the games are already posted online. I think they also had to adjust a lot of in-season games that weren't originally scheduled at the very beginning of the season just because they were accounting for certain teams either making the knockout rounds or not making the knockout rounds. So, you know what? I probably should just make this easier on myself and just go NBA Cup bracket. There we go. There we go. All right. So, yep. So this is what the setup's going to be looking like for the next couple days for the NBA Cup as a whole. I believe it's a single elimination. So let's see. I want to say. I think the ones in the fours play first, and then the two and the threes. I could be wrong. But the quarterfinals are all going to be in the respective, I think it's the higher seeds home court. And then and then the semifinals and the championship are both going to be in Las Vegas. So that's going to be good looks for whoever has already made it into the play-in tournament here. Who do I have winning this tournament? It's going to be a big matchup between the Thunder and the Suns. Which actually... No, it's not today. I saw that the Suns and the Thunder were playing today. So this is a key matchup to be looking forward to when it comes to the play-in tournament. Or no. No, they're right next to the Lakers. I'm dumb. Okay, so yeah. With the matchups that we got going on here in terms of the NBA Cup, I know it's like a week until the knockout rounds happen. And you know what? I think it's too early to really do that, so I won't do that right now, but I'm at least going to save that so I can come back to this later. But anyhow, we get into some close matchups that ended up finishing up last night. Boston against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Boston ended up taking the win on the road only by 2 points in Cleveland. Big contributors coming out of that game last night ended up being Jaylen Brown, who ended up notching up a triple-double in Cleveland. You also got Jordan Walsh, who knotted up a double-double. And then Peyton Pritchard, the top scorer, with 42 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 2... That's 2 turnovers, so we're not going to really talk about that. 15 to 22 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, and 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. So big night from Pritchard as he dropped a 40 bomb. On the Cavs. But getting into Jordan Walsh's double-double, he ended up with 14 points, 11 boards, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block, 4 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, and 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. So big night from Jordan Walsh as well as he knotted up that double-double. Triple-double from Jaylen Brown, 19 points, 12 boards, 11 assists, 1 steal, 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from behind the arc, and 12 of 16 from the free throw line. So big night from Jaylen Brown as well. Even though he didn't have much of an accuracy night, he still contributed in other ways, as you kind of see in the rest of his box score as he knotted up a triple-double. Big scorer coming off the bench for the Boston Celtics ended up being Anthony Simmons, who notched up 18 points, 1 board, 2 assists, 1 steal, 8 of 14 for the field, 2 of 7 from behind the arc, and 0 of 1 from the charity stripe. So still a big night from Simmons as well. Are we still live on Insta? Sounds like it's degraded, but who knows? Anyhow, I then getting into the Cavaliers' top contributors, you got Evan Mobley, who knotted up a double-double, 27 points, 14 boards, 4 assists. Nothing for the defense. The stat line was 11 of 17 from the field, 3 of 6 from behind the arc, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So big night from Evan Mobley. Let's see. Darius Garland had a pretty big night of his own. 21 points, 3 boards, 8 assists. Nothing for the defensive stat line as well, but was 7 of 16 for the field, 4 of 9 from behind the arc, and 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. So still dropped 20 points, which is pretty good. Not really much else jumping off out the box score here. Let's see. Cleveland only had one quarter where they scored over 30 points. Let's see. Let's do some quick maths here. Cavs ended up outscoring the Celtics. I think that's 59 to 64. The scoring differential in the second half between the Cavs and the Celtics here. But 117 to 115 the final in Cleveland. Cavs fall to 12-9. Celtics move up to 11-9. So still very good looks for both these teams as we kind of take a look into the standings real quick. Both of them are right neck and neck where they need to be, in my personal opinion. Right neck and neck with each other as kind of like the middle of the pack in terms of the Eastern Conference here. I mean, don't get it twisted. I think both these teams are still really good. They kind of had a little bit of like drawback just because of the play from the teams that they have been playing against as of late. And, just injuries across the board are kind of hard to overcome for their star players, so there's a little bit of that as well. But, again, don't get it twisted. There's still a lot of good basketball to play for both these teams, so and still very early in the season. We're not even at the All-Star break yet, so yeah, basically coming up on 20 games played for all these teams though, so we gotta have a little bit of an identity for all these teams, I would say. But obviously the Thunder are still sitting up top with the best record in the league right now, so they're just kind of in a league of their own right now, almost, with the way that they have been winning their last 12. It's kind of crazy to see. Kind of a surprise score with the way that with the way that this team in particular has been playing to this point. I was not expecting this. The Hawks ended up beating the Philadelphia 76ers in Philly. It looks like Tyrese Maxey ended up having a night of his own again, but it ends up being Jalen Johnson and the crew that end up having, I guess, the last laugh, if you will. Jalen Johnson ended the night with a double-double, 41 points, 14 boards, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 10 of 21 from the field, 4 of 8 from behind the arc, and 17 of 22 from the charity stripe. So a huge night from Jalen Johnson. As you can kind of see, he knotted up that double-double there. Also a big score ended up being Nickeil Alexander-Walker. 34 points, 8 boards, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 11 of 22 from the field, 6 of 11 from behind the arc, and 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. So big night from Alexander Walker. And then also with the double-double ended up being Okongwu. I don't know how to say his first name. I do apologize. 10 points, 13 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 5 of 14 from the field. So even though not a big accuracy night from Okongwu, was able to contribute in other ways as he knotted up the double-double. This one also went into double overtime, so still a good matchup between both these teams as well. Um, let's see. Top scorer coming off the bench ended up being Muhammad Gueye, who ended up with 13 points, 4 boards, 2 steals, 1 block, 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from behind the arc. So, big night coming off the bench for him. I already talked about his stat line. Dyson Daniels was pretty close to a good night as well. He was 2 assists. Well, let's just go through the rest of this. So Dyson Daniels also had a good night of his own. 17 points, 9 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, 8 of 14 from the field. So outside of, you know, outside of him not getting 1 extra board or 2 assists, he was still pretty good last night. He almost knotted up a triple-double. So don't get it twisted on Dyson Daniels. He still plays well for the Atlanta Hawks here. You got for the 76ers, you got Tyrese Maxey, who is continuing to play well for the Sixers, even to this point of the season here. Got 44.7 boards, 9 assists, 1 block, 14 of 31 from the field, 2 of 13 from behind the arc, and 14 of 17 from the free throw line. So big night from Tyrese Maxey. You got Joel Embiid also had a little bit of a night of his own. 18 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 6 of 14 from the field, and 6 of 8 from the charity stripe. So solid night from Embiid. And then top scorer coming off the bench for the 76ers ended up being Quentin Grimes, who ended the night with a double-double, 28 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, 8 of 15 from the field, 4 of 8 from behind the arc, and 8 of 8 from the charity stripe. So big night from Grimes coming off the bench as well. Let's see. How do I take a look at this box score here? 57, 58, the score differential from the second half. Game ended up going into double overtime. Wasn't able to get any wasn't able to watch any of the highlights from this. Just because I was, hanging out with the family for the past 5 days. So, hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving as well. But the Sixers end up falling to 10-9. Hawks end up moving up to 13-8. And both of these teams, respectively, have been kind of moving up and down, if you will. And I could potentially be wrong here, but I don't know. Well, we're not going to get into our top 5 yet. I think we do that tomorrow. Yeah, I think we do that tomorrow. Hopefully we can get all this other stuff organized so that I can start clipping my stuff. Because for some reason some of my stuff was not loading up today, which is odd and unfortunate, but I mean, not really much I can really do about it at this point. I can try to do a couple different things, but what is this? What is ground control? What the heck is this? Oh, it's also in a beta too. That's cool. whatever. All right, that's cool. I keep getting distracted again. Um, but yeah, anyhow, 142, 134, the final score in Philadelphia. As we're kind of moving on here, um, I guess I kind of should have expected this just because Victor Wembanyama is still out for the Spurs here, and Anthony Edwards is in for the Timberwolves. So I really should have expected this. Not that you know, I mean, not that one person makes a complete difference. It really helps all the other guys that contribute in different ways in games like this, especially in terms of how well teams will play as a whole. It looks like the margin of victory was 13 in this one. Um, but we're going to kind of take a look at some of the key contributors coming out of this game from last night between the Spurs and the Timberwolves. As the Timberwolves take the win at home. You got De'Aaron Fox, who ended up with a solid night of his own. 25 points, 2 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal. 10 of 15 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, and 3 of 3 from the charity stripe. So big night from De'Aaron Fox. You got... do I need to refresh? I don't think I should. That's not going to help. You got Devin Vassell as well, who ended up with a solid night of his own as well. 22 points, 1 board, 3 assists, 1... That's a turnover, not anything else. 2 steals, 10 of 20 from the field, and 1 of 1 from the charity stripe. So solid night from Vassell as well. Key scorer coming off the bench ended up being Keldon Johnson. 22 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals. 8 of 13 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, and 4 of 5 from the charity stripe. So big night from Keldon Johnson. And that's kind of it from key contributors from the Spurs. Looking into the Timberwolves real quick, you got top scorer ended up being Anthony Edwards, 32 points, 3 boards, 6 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 13 of 18 from the field, 4 of 6 from behind the arc, and 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. So big night from Edwards. You got Julius Randle, who ended the night with a double-double, 22 points, 6 boards, 12 assists, 1 steal, 9 of 15 from the field, 2 of 2 from the charity stripe. So big night from Randle as he knotted up the double-double. You also got a key contribution from Dante DiVincenzo, who had 18 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. Nothing from the defensive stat line, but was 7 of 14 from the field and 4 of 9 from behind the arc. So big night from DiVincenzo as well. Top contributor coming off the bench ended up being Naz Reid. 15 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 6 of 11 from the field, 3 of 7 from behind the arc. So big night from Naz Reid coming off the bench as the Wolves ended up taking the win 125 to 112 in Minnesota. The Wolves move up to 12-8. Spurs fall to 13-6. So not entirely where I think the Spurs were wanting to be at this point. They kind of fallen off the top of the seeding ranks right now in terms of the Western Conference. They had kind of been up a little bit higher in previous weeks, but yeah, nothing short of needing something to spark the San Antonio Spurs' winning streak again, because they had just not been finding it, and probably it's part and parcel just because of the fact that the Spurs are without Wembanyama at this point, and I figured I probably should have gotten a couple of losses on their thing as well, but outside of that, 125, 112 was the final in Minnesota. And we're going to kind of get into predictions for today. No NBA Cup for a little bit just because of the NBA Cup not starting till... Excuse me. Not starting till next week anyway. So It is going to be interesting to see what happens tonight. It looks like the Houston Rockets and the Jazz will play again tonight. Um, you also got a potential NBA Cup matchup in terms of the knockout rounds between the Suns and the Lakers. So we'll see what happens there. Um, but still a solid matchup to watch. But we got 3 games tipping off at the same time, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, between the Hawks and Detroit. Look to Detroit to still be coming into this game as they've been throughout the start of the season on a hot streak. Um, let's see, got Cade Cunningham, and there's a couple other players that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but the Detroit Pistons look to them to have some fun against the Hawks tonight, especially at home. You got the Cavs going into Indiana. They've been able to find a way to win the past couple of games, I believe. I don't want to give the wrong impression here. Yes, they won the last 2. But I mean, they do have a tough matchup in the Cleveland Cavaliers. They don't. I'm not going to say that it isn't tough because they're at home, but still, it's going to be one of those matchups nonetheless where I think it could potentially be anybody's game, but without the stars or without the biggest star in Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers and the way that they have been playing so far throughout the beginning of this season, I would highly bet that the Pacers are not going to win this game tonight against the Cavs, so that's why I'm leaning that way. You also got the Milwaukee Bucks tipping off against the Washington Wizards. Still a solid matchup. Not entirely sure who's going to be in on this one, but I think Giannis is still going to be playing for the Bucks here. And the Wizards don't have that player because he's on a different team and he's out for the rest of the season. I also really don't know any other key stars coming out of the Wizards, so that one's going to be not a wash, so to speak, but still I think the Bucks are going to win this one in DC. You also got the Brooklyn Nets. You got the later window, or excuse me, you got 3 more games also tipping off at the 4:30 window. You got the Hornets going into Brooklyn. I think LaMelo Ball is going to still show up and show out for the Charlotte Hornets here, and I think they're going to notch up a win against the Brooklyn Nets. It'd be really tough for with the stretch that they've been going through. They kind of have found a win here and there, but just the way that they have also just been playing throughout, I would look to the Brooklyn Nets to not. I mean, I would be surprised if the Brooklyn Nets find a way to win in this game. You got the Heat and you got the Heat hosting the Clippers. I'm rarely going to underestimate the Heat here. I think that there's a solid squad because you still got Eric Spoelstra being the head coach for the Miami Heat. So regardless of who he has on the floor, especially if he's got Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero back on the floor, should be a good matchup tonight for the Heat here. Not to say that James Harden and the crew for the Clippers can't beat the Miami Heat. I'm just going to be leaning towards the Miami Heat to win this game. Just because I think there's a lot more stars that are going to be back and healthy for the Heat. I could be wrong. We could take a look at the injuries here in a second here. But anyhow, also tipping off at that 4:30 window, you got the Orlando Magic hosting the Chicago Bulls. I mean, this one could go either way, but with how Orlando has been kind of catching a hot streak these past couple of games in particular, I'm thinking they're looking for their 3rd win in a row, and I think that's the best way that I can really put that. Is because, I mean, who knows? I think this is going to be a really good matchup. This could potentially end up going down to the wire and end up in overtime as well, but who knows? Um, we'll see what happens there, but yeah, it could be a good one that ends up into overtime here. Just because I think both these teams have really good stars that are going to be coming into tonight and really wanting to play well, especially Josh Giddey and, gosh, I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head, but at least for the Bulls, you got Josh Giddey. For the Orlando Magic, you got Paolo Banchero and Desmond Bane. And I think there's one other guy that I'm forgetting from the Magic, but anyhow, look to the Magic to squeak by this one, in my personal opinion. Going into the later window of the games tonight, you got Denver hosting the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think there's enough guys that are willing to play for the Dallas Mavericks at this point to where the Denver Nuggets are even going to have like a challenge in this case. So this one could be a complete wash over unless there's stars for the Denver Nuggets that don't end up playing tonight. But yeah, Denver. I'm looking for Denver to win this game here, and then obviously Utah Jazz facing against the Rockets as they did from a previous night, which was actually last night that they faced the Rockets. So 2 in a row against this team. So not really much film watch, if you will, I would say. Because they had just recently played them, but how do I want to put this? Excuse me. What was I gonna say? Stop snowing. But yeah. But I think regardless, I think Markkanen is going to find himself having another night tonight. He didn't really have a big night last night, but I'm kind of predicting a big night from him tonight here. So look to the Jazz to win that one. And then the last game tipping off at 7 o'clock tonight, you got the Lakers hosting the Suns. Yeah, this one's probably a no-brainer for me. A lot of you probably are going to be asking me why this is a no-brainer, but with the way that the Lakers have been playing to this point of the season, not to say that the Suns can't beat them per se, but I think there's too many stars. I mean, you got LeBron James, you got Luka Doncic, you got Austin Reeves. I mean, you got a solid crew for the Lakers, and I'm not saying that Grayson Allen, Dillon Brooks, and Devin Booker can't beat that squad, but I don't really know who their big guy is to stop LeBron James. And I mean, as far as I'm aware, you have like 2 or 3 guards, which I mean, it's a Luka Doncic versus Devin Booker special, if you will. So we'll see what happens here. But as of right now, I'm kind of predicting the Lakers to kind of handle their business at home against the Phoenix Suns here. And as we kind of take a look at the standings here, we got some interesting teams to really look at here. I mean, obviously the Thunder's still at the top of their conference here with the Lakers right behind them. I think, if anything, we're probably going to learn a lot more about the Lakers in the next coming weeks, and maybe even the Suns. just because both these teams not only are right there in the mix in terms of the playoff picture, but they're right there in terms of where they want to be with the NBA Cup as well, just because they were able to find a way to get in. Um, but um, yeah, I'm not really gonna make any predictions because we still got a whole week before all this happens, um, or before or before it gets going. But it's it's gonna be one of those. Uh, oh, how do I put this? Um, I don't I don't even know where I was going with that. I do apologize. But anyhow, still a lot of season left to play for all of these teams. I think it's going to be a good look. Um, I think probably the surprise team coming into the NBA bracket. Um, I would say probably the Heat. Not that I underestimated them, but I didn't really think that they had played well enough in the Cup games so far to get to that point. Um, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, the Spurs had obviously played well enough before Wemby got injured, so that's no shock there. Obviously, the Thunder is not shocking to me at all, especially since they've only had one loss at this point of the season, and I think if their streak continues on throughout the rest of the season, they may only show up into the playoffs with only one loss, which is kind of crazy to think about. I know it's still early on, but it's still wild to me that they're not only the first team to 20 points, but they're also like I mean, they're three losses away from the guy right behind them and somehow 4 games ahead, which is crazy. Like, I mean, it seems like they're like 5 games ahead, but I mean, they've also had 21 games played, and the one team right behind them has only had 19, so we'll see what happens here, but it's still wild. It's still wild. But yeah, I'm not gonna really do a top 5 yet, just because um, I don't really know how I really want to explain this, but I think um, obviously the Thunder and the Pistons are both the top 2 teams still in the league, in my personal opinion. We'll get into the rest of all that stuff tomorrow. Um, but let's kind of take a look at the injuries real quick across the board, just because I haven't kind of looked at this at all. You got Porzingis out with an illness for the Atlanta Hawks here. Quetta is probable tonight for the Celtics with an ankle injury. Derek White is probable tonight with a calf injury. For the Brooklyn Nets, you got Terrence Mann out tonight with a rib injury. Cam Thomas is still out for the Brooklyn Nets as well. No updates from the Charlotte Hornets. Updates from the Chicago Bulls. You got Zach Collins out tonight with a wrist injury. You got Dalen Terry out with a calf injury. You got Kobe White downgraded to doubtful tonight against the Magic. Other than that, no other updates there. But still a long list for the Chicago Bulls, so that might be a huge factor into how well the Bulls end up playing tonight. You got a couple of key stars out for the Cavs, as you got Lonzo Ball out with an illness tonight. Looks like Sam Merrill is out tonight with a hand injury, and Darius Garland out for rest against the Pacers. Okay. And then you got for the Dallas Mavericks, Klay Thompson probable tonight with an illness. Daniel Gafford out with an ankle injury. PJ Washington participated in Monday's shoot-around. Looks like that's probably a questionable for tonight with an ankle injury. Or probable, one of the two. I'm not sure. Anthony Davis is also probable tonight with a calf injury. They still don't have a live update from the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving, but I don't know, man. If the guy is able to get to the point where he can play for the Dallas Mavericks, I think he should be well more than ready to be able to play for the Cavs, or Mavericks, excuse me. But I don't know. This whole resting thing is kind of dumb in my opinion, but who knows? Let's see. Jokic probable tonight against the Mavericks with a left wrist sprain. Bruce Brown questionable tonight with an illness. Strother out tonight with a back injury. Pistons. You got no real updates there. Well, excuse me. I take that back. You got Marcus Saucer. I don't know why they have that there in an injury slot, but okay. You got Bobby Klintman out with an ankle injury. Duncan Robinson questionable tonight with a sprained right ankle. Karis LeVert out probable tonight with a knee injury, and Jalen Duren probable tonight with a leg injury, so that could be a contributing factor into how well the Pistons play tonight. Al Horford is doubtful against the Thunder for tomorrow night. Let's see. Steph Curry is going to be reevaluated in a couple of, or next week. Fred VanVleet out for the Rockets. Any other big stuff? Marcus Smart out with a back injury tonight for the Lakers. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probable tonight against the Wizards. Gary Trent Jr. questionable tonight with a right thumb sprain. That was for the Milwaukee Bucks here. Zion Williamson with a hamstring been ruled out tonight against the Lakers. Out last night against the Lakers. Yeah, was ruled out last night against the Lakers. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of big updates coming out of the injury report here. Not much else to speak of, I think. And I think that's gonna kind of cover it. I mean, what did we? Oh, what did we learn from the NBA over the weekend? I mean, well, over the long 2 weeks, I should say. Well, 2 weekend break. Um, I mean, Thunder is still hot. Still early on, so there's going to be probably a lot of overreactions. I think Thunder is, in my personal opinion, is looking to have their eyes set on repeating as champions once again, as you kind of see in their record here. You got like the Lakers and um, well, I would say the Lakers are kind of the more shocking development, if you will, just because of the fact that Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are both contributing in different ways, if you will. Um, it's kind of a crazy. Um, well, I wouldn't say crazy. It's just more unexpected that the Lakers would be playing this good to this point. At least from my perspective, anyway. Just because you would think that there'd be a little bit too much drama in the which star are you going to focus on more kind of a deal, whether it be LeBron or Luka Doncic, because of the way that they made the Luka Doncic trade anyway. Um, yeah. Anyhow, you would think that the Lakers would have a lot more drama in terms of the fact that they wouldn't be able to win games because the drama would end up relaying to the court as well in terms of how well the team plays, but certainly does not seem to be the case as of right now. Um, that may change. I mean, it's still early on. Um, I think we kind of understand that the San Antonio Spurs are kind of a semi mediocre team without, um, or should I say average? I wouldn't say mediocre. I would say average team without Victor Wembanyama. So, I mean, they kind of had a little bit of a dominant stretch to start out the season, but I've kind of tailed off a little bit ever since the injury to Victor Wembanyama. So, um, kind of a hard sell there for the Spurs. Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards back in have been finding ways to win. Same with the Phoenix Suns, kind of jumping out there as a um, different surprise team, if you will. They started out on a rough stretch um, in terms of not being able to win games, but Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, and Dillon Brooks have found a way to kind of kick it into the next gear in terms of trying to find ways to win, and they had done so, winning 6 out of their last 10 games. Um, let's see, and then uh, do, 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 do. Um, Utah Jazz. I thought they were going to be a little bit higher to this point, just because they had, you know, been at the very bottom a season ago. But um, who knows what's going to happen? Um, I would think that the Jazz are going to find a way to kind of not, or kind of put themselves into the um, I guess if the season were to end today, try to find a way to move up into the top 10 in the conference, but we'll see. Um, yeah, I think they need to extend this to 32 teams, in my personal opinion. Have a team back in Seattle again. That's just my personal opinion, but we'll digress a little bit. Um, do 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 do. What else did we learn? Pacers can win without Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, we kind of already knew that from a season ago, but um, still, I think this is kind of a bad turnaround from making the finals from a season ago. I mean, still very early on, but um, yeah, I would hedge my bets that Pacers are probably going to be down at the bottom of this for a good portion of this season. I think in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks, it's been kind of a rough stretch for them, having only won 2 of their last 10 games. Not looking great for the Bucks, especially with the kind of injuries that they've been having across the board and whatnot. I mean, with Giannis being out, that really doesn't help. But could be a rough stretch coming up for the Bucks here as well in terms of who they are playing. Could be really tough teams down the stretch, but who knows? I think Orlando Magic being up as high as they are is kind of a surprise to me, just because of the fact that I think it's well, I wouldn't really say a surprise per se, but definitely a different look for sure. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there at this point, just because I think I'm out of topics for today, but. Anyhow, with that being said, I think that is going to do it for today. Before I send you guys off, I'm just gonna, if you guys don't mind, I want to say a prayer for you guys real quick and send you guys on the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of the games tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I'll do a little bit of a plug afterwards too, but anyhow, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, once again, I want to thank you for another wonderful Monday. I want to thank each and every single person that is watching at the moment for tuning in. I would like to ask that you continue to bless and guide them throughout the rest of today and throughout the rest of this week, and would like to ask the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary as they go throughout the rest of this week as we pray. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And may the souls of the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Once again, I want to thank each and every single one of you guys for tuning in. This is being multicasted right now. I'm trying to work on getting the Twitch and the Kick live streams back up. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. Well, actually, as you guys don't already know, this is being multicasted to as many platforms as I can. I just added Instagram today. I think Instagram's been a little bit buggy though. So we'll see how much longer that's going to stay up. But trying to keep everything live. The audio is right now only being downloaded to Spotify. So if you guys listen to podcasts and stuff like that, the podcast is being posted over there. So Spotify, just look up The Luke Boyd Show. You'll find it over there. Obviously, the audio won't be put or won't be added into the thing until after the show gets over, just because I have to record the audio first and then send it that way afterwards. But other than that, that's gonna do it for today, and I really appreciate every single one of you guys. I know I don't really say a whole lot about what I've been doing and stuff like that, but again, I really appreciate every single one of you guys. So with that in mind, I think that's going to do it. Really appreciate every single one of you guys for watching. This is Luke Boyd signing off, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. God bless each and every single one of y'all.